It's hot. Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, February 29th. What the fuck? Is this the rarest Chapo on Leap Day? This isn't right. It should be March. It's a rare Chapo because it's on February 29th, leap year. But perhaps even more special still because we're joined by our good friend Max, aka Sweet Palma from podcasts you might remember as Seeking Derangements. Hello,
Good
Max.
afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, y'all. You know, I feel really, really bad that I'm not bringing the rest of the gang in because I know you guys get a lot of comments and requests for more Jacques. And instead, like the monkey paw curled, and you guys are getting the most well-adjusted member of that podcast.
Well, Max, we wanted to have you on because we would like to talk to you a little bit about the country of El Salvador and its epic new president. But before we talk about El Salvador, I'd like to talk about something even cheerier than that, which is Israel and Palestine. And I guess it's just like one of those days where I talked about this when we interviewed Ali Abunima, but I feel like every fucking day now, I wake up to like reading an account of some unspeakable atrocity, and it's just like staring me in the face like a new gray hair or a wrinkle, just smack in the fucking mirror every day. And and every day it's the same. And today it was an incident being referred to in the New York Times, BBC, and CNN as a chaotic style incident in which the Israeli military opened fire on starving people seeking food aid, killing some 100 of them, wounding probably thousands more. Who fucking even knows at this point? But I guess it's just like I just feel like I got to come on and say something, or say something that makes sense, or is the right thing to say. And I guess I just want to talk about this in the context of the uncommitted vote in the Michigan primary that just happened, where like in a short amount of time, probably what is it, over 100,000 people didn't just stay home, but came out and voted on an uncommitted ballot because as a specific protest vote against Joe Biden's policy of continuing and being a party to this ongoing genocide in Gaza. And I guess I don't know what would be like success for the uncommitted movement. It would be like an end to Joe Biden, to our government's policies towards Israel. It's certainly not going to deny Joe Biden the nomination, and it may not even deny him the White House. But I just in the context of this, I just feel like it's been a repeated theme on the show. This idea that everyone's you feel like you're crazy, and I just feel that as the stark horror of what's being done now every day becomes more and more impossible for anyone to deny who's not looking for an excuse to. I guess the people who are still looking for excuses when they're not choking on their own fucking cowardice or hypocrisy will try to make you feel insane, or just make you feel like there's there's nothing you can do to protest this. There's no legitimate means of protesting this. It's all bad. It's all mistaken. And they just make you feel like you're the insane one for not cashiering your soul to fucking keep pretending that this is something other than what we all see with our own two fucking eyes. And I guess I don't know what to say or do. I don't know if how I feel about voting for Joe Biden, or if there's any option to coalesce all this will to end this horror into political action. But I just feel like what's little is left to us in things like voting uncommitted is just of what little is left for us to do, just simply saying, no, I won't be a party to this. I don't consent to this. And every time you do exercise that, even to a little degree, you're made to feel insane because it's just it's never acknowledged in the broader, by voices of authority. And then the people who are, I think wanting to fool themselves because they're committed to this and want to need it to be something other than what it looks like, are just going to lash out at you and make you feel like you're mistaken or crazy.
Not just mistaken or crazy, but a perpetrator of unknown and unknowable evil for daring to speak up. It's also insane that you don't have the same, it's not real that Catholic presidents are beholden to the Pope, because at this point we would have nuked Israel, by now.
Yeah, Joe Biden was actually loyal to the Pope. I think our policy vis-a-vis Palestine and Israel would be slightly different than it is now.
For sure. I mean, you look at Pope Francis, who has his good side and bad side, I guess. He's on the one hand he's based, on the other hand he's the Catholic Pope, so you can't really give him too much credit. But he's one of the only world leaders who's actually admitted, who's publicized this atrocity in Palestine, who's willing to say something, because there are so many Palestinian Christians who are
They were the original Christians.
Exactly, the original Christians. And not only that, but like there's also solidarity with Palestinian Muslims in a way that there is no outpouring of solidarity from Protestants or from atheists or from anybody else, really, aside from, I guess, the type of people who would go and go to a Free Palestine march. But those are really the choir at that point.
No, I just like the words stick in my throat every time I come on here to record. Like I honestly don't know what to say, but like it's just like as we're seeing this latest just unspeakable atrocity take place, the lies coming out to support this. Oh, they trampled themselves. We merely fired warning shots, and then the crowd of starving people that were starving to death menaced us, and we had to shoot them. These lies are being propagated as the lies used to justify this are falling apart more or less as they're spoken. And I'm speaking about I don't know if you guys saw the incredible piece of reporting done by The Intercept this week, based on a lot of work went into this, but it's Ryan Graham, Jeremy Scahill, and Daniel Boguslaw, three guys we've all had on the show, who essentially completely demonstrate that like the New York Times and their Screams Without Words series about how, quote, Hamas weaponized mass rape as a tool of war was basically a Screams Without Sources. This article is insane. Did you guys get a chance to read this by any chance?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. But
I'll give you like the executive summary here. Basically, the most stunning part of it to me was that this absolute dingbat named Anat Schwartz, who that they gave this like probably one of the most consequential pieces of wartime reporting that they could possibly do right now. They gave it to this fucking dingbat and her nephew, who had never done any piece of journalism before, and were essentially tasked by the New York Times with coming up with sources that can verify these lurid accounts of mass rape atrocity. Anat Schwartz went on a podcast in Israel in Hebrew that was translated for this, where basically the entire podcast episode was her being given a friendly interview where she says over and over again that every time she tried to get a source to go to confirm any of these stories, she was told that there was nothing to confirm, that she has nothing, no sources whatsoever. The New York Times are aware of this and asked her like, hey, can you confirm any of this? She said, no, basically. And they said, we stand by her reporting. I'm sorry, like, this makes the New York Times as active a party to this genocide as the Israeli military, as far as I'm concerned. It was stunning.
It's very disconcerting to see. It's not new, right? The New York Times being like a cheerleader for this sort of thing is absolutely not new and has never been new. But it is especially disconcerting today, where you can point to not one, but like a series of these acts that Israel has done where they've dug in. Like, for example, do you remember the first time they shelled that hospital in North Gaza, right? And they claimed that it was a Hamas rocket gone that had failed or whatever because, they only buy the Alibaba ones. And, they got a rocket from Temu and it killed the hospital. So what happened to the other 24 hospitals that they had in the rest of Gaza that got, shelled to smithereens, literal smithereens? Were they all Temu rockets that happened to hit the courtyards and maim a bunch of children? I really don't think so. 24 of those? It boggles the mind. There's either someone asleep at the wheel, someone's nodding off. I really want to know what they have these guys on, because either they can give me a taste or they can stop doing it. Did they bring enough to share with the class? In other words.
Yeah. And the consequences of this story are like the justification of the ongoing mass murder of starving people. And there is literally not a single source. I mean, that Anat Schwartz woman posted on Twitter today, and she was like, I'm so grateful for the New York Times for allowing me to give voice to these women. What women? You didn't have a single fucking woman go on record. You can get a single source to confirm any of this to the standards that would meet even the barest journalistic scrutiny. And what happened is, the New York Times basically gave this totally unexperienced not even a reporter, basically an Israeli intelligence official, gave her and her fucking nephew the job of the most important piece of war reporting they could do. And what they found when they went to, they said, confirm all of these lurid accounts that have already been published and since debunked. So they went out to confirm it. And they talk about how they called every single rape crisis center in Israel, every hospital, every morgue, and couldn't get a single confirmation of any sexual assault that took place on that day. Not one. And what did they do? They went to the Israeli military, who directed them to the same sources that had already been debunked, like the Zaka rescue group. And again, this is not. I would just like to I've said it before on this show, but I'll say it again. There is not a single person alive fooled by this who doesn't want to be. Not like, nobody believes this shit. It's just a question of whether you are willing to pretend in public once the New York Times gives you, permission to do so.
Yeah, no, it's gone beyond manufacturing consent. At this point, you're manufacturing a dream world for Zionists to live in, and to cite a paper of record that could, enable their fantasy that Israel is a righteous state, that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel is the only feminist state in the Middle East, completely sidestepping not only what they're doing to Palestinian women en masse, right, but also what happens in any other Arab state where women have had the right to vote, except in I guess Jordan,
our good friend Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Or our good friend Saudi Arabia, exactly. They could only really point to our allies who are really terrible to women, exactly Saudi Arabia, but no mention of Bahrain or Kuwait or Qatar or the UAE or even Yemen. Like shit, it's insane.
Right. That is the just mind-numbing thing about that side of Diaspora. That this is the only country in the Middle East where women have full personhood and there are pride parades, but all their allies in the region, I guess Sans Jordan, are those are the most theocratic countries. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, all the countries that they have normalized relations with or were going to until the PR from this was just too bad for Saudi Arabia to do it. I mean, they don't seem to have any problem with it when it's a Gulf monarchy or ISIS when they set up field hospitals for them.
Yeah, no, insane. It kind of reminds me of when the Contra thing was happening, right? And I don't know. This might be very obscure, and I can't really cite any sources on this, which is a terrible thing to say. But
it's okay. You don't need to.
Well, they're certainly not. No, citing any good sources
we observe
either.
New York Times. We observe the standards of the New York Times on this show, so no sources need to share any information on this show.
But just on the basis of, for example, the Sandinistas allowing abortion when they won in the 80s, when they finally were regularized. It suddenly became a big rallying cry for the Contras. Oh yeah, we're the only party that respects life. Completely sidestepping all the heinous
all the babies they killed,
all the babies they cut out of women, in some village, that's two streets.
You don't have to make up stories about what the Contras did to pregnant women.
No, absolutely not. Or what the Contras in El Salvador did to school children.
Well, we'll get there.
We will get there. Yeah, eventually. But it's really sad. Really sad.
I don't know. I guess I just thinking about all this, and again, the New York Times, the BBC, and CNN describing this massacre as quote a chaotic incident. Who the fuck are you, Dr. Ian Malcolm? What is this shit?
They were in line. They were in line. How did you disperse the line with bombs, right? Who is making the chaos here? Same with, in Palestine, gay people don't have rights. I mean, we have, Israel basically has sovereignty over Palestine and the Gaza Strip. Let's not kid ourselves. When they have complete control of what goes in or out, even into or out of Israel towards Gaza or Palestine, who do you really think has control over how gay people are treated, for example? And it doesn't matter. You're shelling all of them anyway, gay or straight. It doesn't really matter. All these arguments are so circular and 20 years out of date. It baffles the mind as to how these people are not in a home.
I mean, I think these arguments, they're trotted out there because someone has to say something. And I don't think anyone believes them anymore, but there's just fundamentally no link anymore between public opinion and our democracy. And what we're seeing is attempts to wrest control back from that, this standard, for instance, voting uncommitted in Michigan, that we're all being assured now is a total waste of time. No big deal. Nothing happened. Just really a blip on the radar. Biden's,
it's not like a swing state or anything that's hanging by 10,000 votes or whatever.
I mean, look, he won Michigan in 2020 by about 150,000 votes. By all polls now, he's trailing Michigan. And if he thinks he has 100,000 votes to spare there, they've probably made that calculation and run the numbers, and they decided we don't need him. And they may be right. They may be right. I'm not holding my breath here that anyone's ever going to be punished for any of this shit. Forget being in a court or, facing a firing squad. I'm talking just not getting to be president again. Because, who knows? Like, the economy is doing well, and maybe Trump's 90 federal indictments will catch up with him in time for November. But he's certainly willing to risk it all on this. And I just have to I have nothing but admiration for the people who organized this really quickly to get way more than they thought to actively vote uncommitted.
I'm just hoping Commander can take one for the team and really, maybe Biden will put him backwards when he's out on the loop, and it'll all be over. This terrible national nightmare.
It's kind of shocking. It's think how many stairs he encounters in his day-to-day life.
That's how you know Catholicism is real. Dude prays and it works.
Yeah. And it's not even he's good at climbing stairs. He falls down all the time. I've seen way more impressive, way sturdier old people just assassinated by stairs. But he's just
Absolutely.
he's still, he has power armor or something. Or that
his hips are he got a hip replacement from Wolverine.
Yeah.
It's called adamantium, Jack. I'm indestructible. I'll be here another 30 years. I got the healing factor, Jack. But no, I want to say the uncommitted vote in Michigan was so pointless and such a futile gesture by spoiled children that Biden pretended that there was a ceasefire deal that was going to be coming up this week when he was fucking sticking an ice cream cone in his face on Seth Meyers. I mean, the symbolism of this dickhead licking ice cream, lying about a potential ceasefire deal. It's just, I feel like a fucking broken record on this show. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? Like I said, Commander, you're our only hope. Or Buster, whatever the new dog is after they put the last one down.
Navy.
Battleship. Yeah.
Gun.
Yeah, it's obviously a Navy dog.
I don't know, but anyway. I hope the uncommitted ballot line continues. I hope it continues to go on because someone's got to pay for this shit.
Absolutely. I mean, it is heartening to see so many people. I mean, it's granted, it's a very small sliver of the electorate that is being polled right now, but the results are very heartening. It's more than 10% are very dissatisfied, and these are supposed to be registered Democrats. They're not your average undecided voter. These are people who have a stake in the future of the Democratic Party, and they don't want to see this motherfucker keep fucking it up. They want him out of there. They want him in a home or something, or far away from the levers of power in this country, because you cannot trust this old motherfucker with them. And they're right.
And it's just over and over again, this idea that we just can't tell Israel what to do. And I suppose in a sixth sense, that's correct, because we can't tell ourselves what to do either. And at this point, no. I don't really think there's much of a utility in pretending that there's any difference between these two governments. I mean, we've talked about it before on previous shows. I don't want to belabor it too long. I do want to get into El Salvador, but god damn it, it's just it's just unspeakable every fucking day, and the lengths that people will go to debase themselves to fucking cape for this just absolute evil is just it's sickening to me. It really turns my stomach every fucking day.
Yeah, and the longer it goes on, the more extreme any good policy has to be. We're
so
far,
I would say ceasefire, a temporary ceasefire at this point.
Yeah, we're so far past the point of a temporary ceasefire being adequate, or even just not giving them, vast shipments of weapons and cash transfers. A good policy at this point would actually be, launching a JDAM at the Knesset. That's really, that's really it.
Yeah.
It would be to decapitate some of their leadership and send a message. We are at that point now.
A 10th Crusade does not sound too bad right about now.
Tom Cruise, if you're out there, Top Gun Maverick Part 3, just make it happen. Let's make it real. Let's just make it real. Come on, Pete Maverick Mitchell.
Oh, God. I mean, yeah. So such is life when you hitch your presidency to, an administration based purely on vibes, which is really what we started with in 2020, right? The whole point of, or the whole mandate for this government has been to bring back good vibes. which is not
mission
like
accomplished.
Right.
yeah. Well, it's not a very useful one to begin with, but like when you're hit with a crisis like this, there is no response. Like they do not have something in their playbook that will end in good vibes. It is bad vibes that are coming from Israel right now, and there's no good vibe that can fix it. If you really want to make it a good vibes, regime, dismantle the country. Like it's completely within your power to drain their budget, not send a single red cent to Israel. But is that a good vibe for people? No, you can't do that. That would be preposterous. They're our ally,
Right.
dude. That's bad vibes to betray your ally.
The pitch of Biden 2020 was like, you won't have to read the news anymore.
You maybe don't know. Could you fill them in a little bit about where you're from and just El
Sure.
Salvador as a country and your relationship to this land of contrasts?
Gotcha.
That is
totally.
that is mostly thought of as like a nightmarish place to most Americans.
And they're not wrong. It's just that the nightmare happens at different part of a night. My nightmare, whenever I go there, starts around 5 a.m. when the hangover starts setting in after all the blue curacao starts, cashing its check. And my family's from there, so I wasn't born in El Salvador. My parents were very lucky. They're from that generation where it was still possible to make the jump from middle class to upper middle class. So people who in El Salvador who do that, they're generally they go to the States to finish college or whatever, graduate. So it was very easy for them to have me and my brothers as basically anchor babies and come up, move up here eventually. So I really do have to acknowledge my privilege here, because I know what it's like to live without privilege in a country like that, and it is not pretty in the least. I'm very grateful that I had the chance to. My parents were very Catholic, for example, so I used to do like mission trips or like evangelization out in the middle of nowhere, where they had killed the priests during the Civil War and they hadn't bothered. They hadn't bothered to fill it back in, so we had to be like, we were the advance party for the diocese, going, "Hey, by the way, the priest is coming this week. You guys want to go to confession? You guys want to pray with us? Whatever." So we were all out in the boonies, where 30 years prior, it was the Civil War in the 80s, right? 30 years prior, they were recruiting middle schoolers to throw grenades at government troops. They were killing priests for telling them to it's okay to defend yourself and defend your land and property from being encroached into by the government, trying to fight the guerrilla. All this nonsense. But I lived there for a few years as well. I should make it clear. When I was much younger, like from when I was newborn to about 10. And I go every year to visit family.
Max, I remember I recommended to you Charles Portis's "The Dog of the South" once, and
Dog of the South is.
I remember
brilliant.
you said that your childhood bore a lot of similarities to the sort of the jungle hideaway of Dr. Rio Symes and his sort of like mission in Belize, I believe is where they are in that book.
Yes, Dr. Rio Symes was, I think, based on a real person. At least it feels that way. We also did like medical missions. So we did have a lot of Symes types coming down to the country, giving free medical care to places where, the one midwife in the village had been shot by the government for, whatever, harboring or letting some guerrilla leader give birth in their place, or like a guerrilla soldier or whatever, or like sewing up people who had been shot, like civilians who had been shot at demonstrations or whatnot. So Dog of the South is one of those, but Gringos also
another Charles Portis book,
now.
yeah.
Another Charles Portis classic banger. If you haven't read it already, stop this podcast and get on it, because it's maybe his best book.
Actually, if you're listening to this right now, stop the podcast, read all of Charles Portis's books.
Yes,
Norwood,
Miscellany
Atlantis,
as well.
Dog of the South, True Grit, and then all of the the travel writing, short stories, letters, things like that.
For the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Wow, what up?
And however long it takes you, then come back, hit play on this episode, and we'll continue.
Yes, please. Anyway, for a long time after the Civil War happened, in 1992 is when they signed the peace accord in Chapultepec, in this old palace in Mexico City. And the way they kind of figured it out since then has been, okay, well, the FMLN, the United Leftist Guerrilla Front, was granted the permission to become a political party. So from then on, they were able to join or move their fight to the political sphere rather than, shooting people.
somewhat surprisingly to the rest of this conversation, that political party is where current President Bukele got his start.
Yes, and there's a big quite a lot to be said. So up to about 2006, 2007, it was led by one of the old blood guerrilla leaders, revolutionaries called Shafiq Handal. And if that name sounds a little Palestinian to you, he is one of the original Palestinian. His family is one of the original Palestinian
Bukele's family
immigrants.
is also Palestinian.
Yeah. A lot of Palestinian Christians came over during the first wave of pogroms that they had in Israel against Christians and Muslims in the Holy Land. So quite a lot of my Palestinian friends from El Salvador can trace their lineage all the way back to the 20s in Bethlehem, which is where a lot of them come from. So Bukele is one of those. Funny enough, actually, his dad reverted to Islam and became one of the chief imams of Central America. He's actually supposed to have been Catholic, but anyway, the point is, Bukele was just like a swagged out guy. He owned like a Yamaha dealership. He was like
the whole
cool
family
dude.
were the biggest motorcycle dealers in the nation of El Salvador. This is
exactly
my research here.
They were caked up for sure. And around 2006, 2007 is when Bukele first got really involved with the leftist front, the FMLN. And he did a lot of like publicity for him and stuff like that, PR, that kind of thing. And eventually in 2011, he was granted the ability to run for mayor of this little suburb outside San Salvador, where a lot of pretty affluent people live. And he turned that from the right-wing party, Arena, the Republican Nationalist Alliance, to the Farabundo Martí Liberation Front, which is the leftist one. So he kind of pulled it off and turned that into like a pretty nice place to live. Sorry, go on.
Max, it's interesting. I was reading up on his early political career and his successes as mayor, and it would seem like his political platform was like basically the things that you would want from a mayor of like a small rural town, like things like rural electrification, building roads, building hospitals, things like that. So like, how do we get to the point where he is now, or like the two things everyone knows about Bukele now and his platform and really the nation of El Salvador are these two sort of headline sort of policies. First one being, of course, Bitcoin, and the second being this kind of ongoing state of emergency and a war on gangs in El Salvador. Right. So how do we go from being a guy who was swagged out, Palestinian, riding motorcycles in a political party founded by guerrilla left-wing fighters, building roads and electricity, to being a Bitcoin dipshit who's going to war with half the country?
And Milei's best friend now, apparently.
Milei needs all the friends he could get.
His only friend, I am assuming now, who's not Jewish.
I love that Milei. He's the only world leader who threatened to kill himself on Twitter. He's awesome. His policies aren't very good, but like he as a person is great.
Listen, you can't say he's not Latina.
Yeah, no, 100%. What he loves big.
Like his dogs, his cloned dogs that he likes more than people.
And his sister.
Yeah.
So Bukele...
but I repeat myself.
God damn. Don't do him like that. Jesus Christ. That's a woman you're talking about, supposedly.
I'm sorry about Javier Milei.
Yeah, and anyway, the way Bukele made the jump from like just your average like functional mayor to kind of like a despot, a caudillo in the local tradition, is he was, after having quite a lot of success in that little suburb, he was called up to the majors, which is he was the mayor of San Salvador. He was basically, they cooked the election for him. They gave him the post. They're like, okay, this is you, ball out, do whatever you want. And he kind of did the same thing, but he changed his policy a little bit to highlight. And this is during a time where the right and the left wing parties were very, very corrupt. Like, it would not be an issue, or it would not raise too many eyebrows to know that both parties took money from the gangs to like orchestrate like a ceasefire between the two rival gangs, MS-13 and 18th Street Gang. So,
is there an 18th Street in El Salvador? And if so, I'd like to avoid it.
No, they're from LA. Originally.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, MS-13 was founded in American prisons, right? It was like El Salvadorans who needed protection from like the Mexican MA in California.
Not just that, from Pirus, from gangsters,
everyone,
from GD,
everyone,
everybody. Because if you were not affiliated, you got your shit.
Yeah, you were
up.
fucking eaten alive.
Absolutely. So these guys, like after coming home from prison, being deported back to El Salvador, they kind of started these gangs because, again, these are refugees from the country. Originally, these would have been like guerrilla fighters that were, managed to escape, and these are people who may have been fighting with AK-47 since they were 12, and really don't know any other way to make money than to extort people or to shoot them or to threaten them in some kind of fashion. Anyway, by 2012, 2013, the gang problem had become really bad. I mean, you had buses being torched because the guy who collected the fare was not paying the right amount of protection money or didn't pay him to the right guy or anything like that. Like they were torching these buses with people inside.
So it's like understandable how like a candidate who promises like sort of radical measures to address public safety would be
For
popular.
Sure. Not only that, but the treasury was at an all-time low. They had a terrible deficit because so many public officials were basically just stealing and embezzling in a very storied tradition in El Salvador. Embezzling is the national pastime, number 2 to soccer, I guess. So it got so bad that his motto for his campaign, for his presidential campaign, was, there's enough money if nobody steals, which, flawless logic, but it's operating under an assumption that, if you give him enough money, there'll be enough money for everybody to begin with, which there really wasn't. So his alternative to all these really expensive, for example, reform programs for former gang members, paying for laser removal for tattoos.
It's a lot of laser removal. You're talking
a lot of laser,
yeah.
Very painful. Salute to whoever actually went through with it, because that is all over, dude. That's on your dick tip.
Yeah, you look like Fire Marshal Bill after you got the shit got off your head. Yeah,
exactly. They look like Caillou and shit.
That must be
terrible. Yeah. So. So he completely changed that and defunded them because he saw them as a time and money sink for the government. And instead, he unveiled in 2022 this new hardline campaign, which was somehow different from the other hardline campaigns that had happened prior, where corrupt. It's like heat happens, but every day. Where like your neighbor has SWAT called to their house because they were they were the lookout for the gang. Like their son is a lookout for the gang members because he got bullied into it in middle school, and that's one of the main reasons why people leave places like El Salvador, because suddenly you get a letter or you get a text from your local enforcer telling you, hey, your son's pretty good at sending messages. If you don't let him join the gang, I'm going to torch your business down, or I'm going to torch your house down, or I'll kill your daughter. It's insane.
I mean, but currently, what is the state of play right now as regards like these kind of like extrajudicial detention, building a new prison, this kind of like this state of exception for the gang problem, and also sort of the homicide rate seems to have gone down, but it does seem like there's a bit of fudging the statistics going on there in terms of, I've read something about how they're no longer counting people found in mass graves as homicides, or it counts as one homicide rather than 30.
Yeah. It used to be that you didn't find the mass graves. What you would find was just like a backpack by the side of the road that was suspiciously heavy, and it turned out to be an entire person shoved into it.
Oh, Jesus.
But now they're a little bit more efficient with it, shall we say?
They're literally trying to basically bribe the heads of these gangs to enforce bribe them to keep a lid on things. But now it seems like they've scratched that and they're just trying to throw as many of them in jail as possible.
Yeah, so they built the Centro de Control Territorial, which means, or SECOT for short. It's basically like an anti-terrorist, massive supermax prison that they built in the middle of nowhere in this giant field that used to be cornfields. Prior to this, and it's just chock full of I think the last count they had was 60,000 inmates in a prison.
Christ.
Yeah, insane. And these are all all these cells are stuffed to the gills of people who a lot of them have not gotten a fair trial. They're famously putting hundreds of people through hearings to determine culpability or not even sentencing at this point. They haven't even gotten to the sentencing for most people, or for most of these prisoners. So they're stuck in kind of like a legal limbo thanks to the state of exception. They suspended habeas corpus, they suspended the right to a speedy and fair trial, and they suspended individual trials. Like if you are indicted for a certain list of charges, you are automatically sent to the pen where you and 200 of your closest associates get to see the judge, maybe via Zoom if you're not lucky. And then you all get, it's either you're all free or you're all going back to prison.
So obviously public safety and cracking down on lawless gang violence is a big part of his platform. But he's also the first president since the 80s to have not been a member of the two political parties. You already mentioned the FMLN and then the sort of right wing
the Nationalist
Alliance. The Nationalist Party. So what is this political party? And outside of public safety and Bitcoin, how would you describe their politics?
It's kind of a big tent at this point. When he was kicked out of the left party right before he became president. When he was still mayor of San Salvador, he got into it with one of the with a labor leader. He
punched
the details
him, right?
aren't fully out. He punched her, a woman, and called her a bitch and a bunch of other things. Yeah.
Wait, he punched a woman?
He I don't know if he punched her, but he definitely hit her.
Punch me. Yeah. I can take it.
Exactly. Even in a very macho country like El Salvador, that is definitely not.
You can't be doing that.
Smiled upon. No, you cannot be doing that, especially not a political ally like this lady. She was the head of the municipal workers union, whatever, right? This is one person you really cannot fuck with. So he was almost immediately and summarily expelled from the party and fined quite a lot of money. And he was still a very popular candidate. He was still a very popular politician. So he just glommed on to the next available one, which was another offshoot of people who were expelled from the right-wing party instead, and would form their own kind of thing. GANA. It's like Ghana. It means to win in Spanish, and it kind of stands for the Great Party for National Renewal or something like that. And they really didn't have a platform. It was just we're just politicians, and we need something a block for a bunch of corrupt mayors to join together and kind of look out for each other and not get expelled from or dismissed from their posts.
It's sort of a no labels party, but
very much a no labels party. Yeah.
Another interesting thing is that early on in his political career, he was very close with Venezuela, but was one of the first South American leaders to recognize, South or Central American leaders to recognize Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela. So, had a real, licked his finger, put it to the wind, and saw where that one was blowing.
Very keen, yeah. Venezuela and El Salvador, ever since, because prior to Bukele being president, we had two presidents from the left-wing party, and they were, as a rule, very friendly with Venezuela. So now that Bukele was elected into office, and him not being super in tune with the left-wing factions of those parties, he's very much a centrist liberal type. So of course he's very attuned to Juan Guaido, very 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 much a fan and admirer. I'm assuming of him, because I don't know, maybe he sees that Miami in him, and he's like, that guy seems cool. He does not seem like a loser. He goes to Miami all the time. He must fuck a lot.
Yeah, he's wearing sandals everywhere. He's probably got a moped or something.
So yeah, he was kind of forced to square the circle of, we're friends with Venezuela, but not that Venezuela. We're friends with the cool Venezuela, Juan Guaido, the acne guy.
Well,
who lives in a basement.
Edward James Olmos, eat your heart out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he has sort of the El Salvadoran equivalent of a no labels political party. But the interesting thing is he becomes a global or sort of world leader, is that he has very much slotted himself into the CPAC circuit in this country, and gotten and made a number of close alliances with the far right wing in this country. And I just have a great quote from Nayib Bukele speaking at CPAC. Quote, "They say globalism comes to die at CPAC. I'm here to tell you that in El Salvador, it's already dead. But if you want globalism to die here too, you must be willing to unapologetically fight against everything and everyone that stands for it. Dark forces are taking over your country." So
I mean, he lies like a CPAC speaker.
yeah, is globalism dead in El Salvador?
No, it's very much alive. Let me tell you a little story. So it's no secret. I used to live in Spain for a little bit. I was going to college there, and I fucked up my visa, so I had to go back.
You worked too many jobs, and they were like, "Go home."
Exactly. No, they found out
more
about
people like this.
Yeah, they saw me earning a living wage, and they were like, "No, you gotta take the dole, pal. Come on, what the fuck? Where's your siesta credit, man? Come on,
Get it.
No.
Never work in this town again, or get out of here."
Hammock inspection is here. Yours is too not frayed enough. Anyway, I had to go back to El Salvador for a little bit and get another visa as a Salvadoran citizen. So I had to like renew all my paperwork, go to the police, and the whole rigmarole from scratch. And in my travels, you have to renew a lot of these like residency documents to make sure, like, yes, I'm Salvadoran. Yes, I live here. Yes, I want to go to Spain. And I swear to God, every single time I went to renew something, there was one guy, a European or like a gringo or like Asian even, like a Bitcoin type person. Like they would give me like their business card because like they heard me speaking in English.
Oh, El Salvador, okay,
in El Salvador, yeah, like they were in there.
Okay, so you must be in on the crypto revolution.
Exactly, and as a rule, these people are all foreigners. There is exactly zero, no, not exactly zero, maybe 5 people in El Salvador who really and truly believe in the Bitcoin thing, and everybody else just sees it as, hey, they gave us all a Bitcoin wallet with $30 on it. $30 is $30, pal. Shit. Like that'll buy me a 6-pack and a little Coke.
Well, yeah. Well, but is it cheap down there?
If you pinch from the right type of
I won't be pinching anything from anyone in any
exactly,
in El Salvador.
It's cheap until they come knocking.
Well, Max, I mean, like the interesting thing about like, okay, so like the Bitcoin revolution in El Salvador. So like, has he officially made Bitcoin like the legal tender of El Salvador? No, or is he just backed up like currency reserves in Bitcoin? How does this actually work?
So actually, there's no currency reserves. I'll tell you something very fun about El Salvador is that it does not have its own currency anymore. It used to.
Yeah, they still have the U.S. dollar, right?
They use the U.S. dollar, and so they're beholden to U.S. inflation, and they're beholden to all these other things. Monetary policy that's handled by the U.S. government, and probably one of the main reasons why Bukele wanted to make Bitcoin a regular or official tender.
Well, Max,
I distance himself from that sort of thing.
In preparing for this episode, I found probably my favorite quote from one of Bukele's American supporters trying to describe to an American audience what the Bitcoin revolution is doing in El Salvador. Quote, imagine JFK. If he had Bitcoin to do battle with the CIA and central banks, and what you get is President Bukele today. El Salvador is the new Camelot. So
just looking at JFK's exploded head, Bitcoin solves this.
Well, that's because he didn't have Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He didn't have Bitcoin to fight back.
He could have put his brain on the blockchain.
Honestly, yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I don't, that doesn't quite follow. At least Bukele fucks his wife.
That's, yeah.
Bukele famously, he's a wife guy, big time. Yeah. She was very pregnant for quite a bit of his previous term. And now that he's been reelected to a second term, I can only imagine how many times he's going to knock her up.
Didn't he at one point do the gender swap thing, or like he did a gender filter and with hashtag new profile pic? I'm looking at my Twitter account here, and I got to say he's pretty hot. He's pretty hot.
Yeah, he has a good look.
Latina and Arab Habibi. I mean, you really can't go wrong, even with the face filter.
I mean, he wears baseball hats. That's relatable. But here's what I want to ask you about, Max. For crypto, for Bitcoin, for El Salvador, how does this work in a country where something like 70% of the population exists in a basically underground cash-only economy? Or like how acts like is paid in cash and like basically exists in a kind of not black market, but like tax-free, like off the books employment.
It does not work very well. People are very wise to the fact that Bitcoin by design has a ledger that anyone can read. So people can say, hey, this guy paid, $1,200 for sex tourism in El Salvador. Where's the VAT? Where's the value added tax? Did you pay that? So it's people are very wise to that because of course they don't want to fucking pay taxes on bullshit. They know everyone steals that money. They don't want to give the government any more fucking money, right? people who are there, who are living there, are very wise to it. It kind of works, or was envisioned to work in the same way that, like, I don't know if you remember from the early teens, the early 2010s. It was a big push to promote microfinance in the developing world.
Oh yeah, micro loans. Yeah, they could cause thousands of Indian farmers to kill themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is like the Salvadoran version of that. Like we couldn't get a visa to sign off on it, so we got to roll our own. And the way it kind of worked is the central bank set up, or not even the central bank, no, the state-owned telecom set up a Bitcoin wallet for everybody. With preloaded it with $30 as a bribe, I guess, and people just cast it all out and forgot about it. Like it straight up does not work. They only care about U.S. dollars because that is still the easiest way to send money from the States to El Salvador. You still don't have to do the currency conversion. With Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, you don't have to pay money at the backside for transaction fees or anything like that, but you still have, to pay out the ass for currency conversion to get dollars out of it. Because you're not going to fucking pay. You're not going to wait 15 minutes for a Bitcoin transaction to clear when you're at the fucking corner store for 0.005 Bitcoin to clear so you could buy hot Cheetos. No fucking way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I guess you could say it technically doesn't have transaction fees, but like transferring like really any amount of Bitcoin from one wallet to another, you do kind of have to pay like a mining fee. And like it's also pretty bad because like the smaller the amount of Bitcoin you send, the longer it takes, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a bunch of like I can't really explain it, but there's a bunch of like rent seeking with like the ledgers and shit, and basically people don't want to mine or whatever for a really small amount. But if I'm not mistaken, he used like government reserves to buy a lot of Bitcoin, which at first he like lost a shit ton, but now Bitcoin's at like 60K again.
Yeah, he's back in the black for now. He's starting to tweet about it. That's how you know that Bitcoin that he's back in the black, because he spent like 6 months, didn't say a fucking peep about Bitcoin. Nothing.
Yeah,
like 6 months prior to like the state of exception thing in last year. That's when Bitcoin kind of fell off. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yeah,
he was oddly quiet after months and months of like every weekend. There's another tweet from him. Hey, we just dropped another $100 million on Bitcoin. We bought 5 Bitcoin. Who's ready to party? Yeah, let's go to the honestly, club and drop all the Bitcoin on a bottle service.
Honestly, Max, I'm still trying to financially recover from investing in Miami coin, the cryptocurrency of the city of Miami. Never even got off the ground.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, that's kind of your fault for falling for a Cuban scam. Can you imagine getting scammed by Cubans? Actually, I would kill myself.
Max, this is actually a great segue because obviously everyone knows about the Florida Cuban diaspora and what a pain in the ass they are to everyone. But another interesting statistic about Bukele is that he won 98% of the Salvadoran diaspora, of the sort of living abroad Salvadoran vote. So I don't know, does El Salvador have like a diaspora community in the United States and like as a political as sort of like a political lobbying group in the same way that like the Cubans do?
Oh, big time. I think at this point there's like 2 or 3 million Salvadorans living in the States. Like there's more Salvadorans living in the States than there are definitely in most departments in the country, most provinces, definitely more than there are in the capital city, which is only like 2.5 million. So you're talking about a very big voting bloc, almost all of whom emigrated because of gang problems. Like you don't leave the country for nothing, right? You leave because you got a finger
take
in
our
the
jobs and our women in this country. That's why you leave El Salvador.
Well, listen, you find yourself a fine ass blonde woman and as a 4'7" day laborer. It's better than winning the lottery, dude. I mean, shit. Can you really blame him?
Come and take it. Come and take my 6-foot blonde from me, El Salvador.
That's happened every Raya match I've ever gotten. I've been outcompeted by a Salvadorian.
Yeah, a guy who like scrapes the griddle at McDonald's for a living, for 40 hours a week has better dick than your average gringo.
Yeah, I message McKenna, who puts her location as Bushwick and Silver Lake, and her job is to like groom dogs that are about to be killed in movies. And she's like, the all-woman group chat said you have like 2-star pipe with a Salvadorian now.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're really fucking a guy whose life depends on it. You know, if the relationship goes bad, if she breaks up with you and reports you to La Migra, you know, your thumb is going away when you go back to El Salvador. They get their fucking pound of flesh. So yeah, well, it's tough.
But just like going back to his sort of I don't know, being plugged into the American right wing, and they're kind of hailing him as a hero, and just as an example of that, I do have to mention that friend of the show, Roger Eyre, is of course a huge fan of Nayib Bukele.
Of course,
I will just give you the headline from his American Conservative article: Nayib Bukele serious about saving civilization. It's going to take an American Bukele to de-wokeify the country after the soft totalitarian reign of error. But I guess my question is like, is El Salvador a particularly woke country that's in need of some sort of DEI reform? Or
no, absolutely not.
Like, is his platform fighting wokeness in El Salvador or only fighting it in America? Like, what's going on here?
It seems it's very much signaling for American conservative donations to, you know, maybe flip it a little bit more. I don't know why he's so invested in it. Like, he already won an unconstitutional second consecutive term. In no uncertain terms does the new Salvadoran Constitution from 1992, in no uncertain terms does it say you are not allowed to run for a second consecutive term. He did something that Joe Biden was too pussy to do, which is pack the courts, the Supreme Court, and they were like, you know what, we're willing to look the other way. So you can have your second term, no problem. Next up, he has an absolute supermajority in the Congress, right? He has like 48 of 52 votes in the Legislative Assembly. It's a unicameral assembly, so there's no senators to fuck shit up. It's just his people and like 2 or 3 different like soft shell lefty type, you know, parties that are like, hey, we want a little, you know, let's queer it up a little bit.
I take it back. I think we do need a Nayib Bukele for America. Maybe one with different beliefs, but like honestly, I see the appeal. I really do.
I mean, listen, who would not vote for a guy whose number one campaign promise is to put every single like January 6er in to like
send them to El Salvador? Send them to prison in El Salvador?
Deport them to El Salvador, absolutely. Or you know, if you max out your donations, you get to flip the switch on the electric chair. You know, just gringos are just addicted to losing. They love it. They love to lose. They don't have the hustle. They don't have
born to lose. That's right, baby.
Yeah.
I was born to lose.
Exactly.
So no, I mean, it seems like he's in the catbird seat of El Salvador right now. It seems like he's not going anywhere and remains a
no.
How would you assess his popularity within El Salvador itself?
Complete and total, except for like the middle upper class, like educated people that definitely see him as a threat. You know, they're very scared of eventually, you know, a third term. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years? We have 5-year terms in El Salvador. Hopefully, you know, one of them was enough to basically bring his entire campaign platform to fruition. Like, this is the first time that has happened in a long time, irrespective of, you know, the cost of living, which is still very high compared to the average, you know, Salvadoran GDP or the per capita, you know, income. It's still pretty low.
It's a problem if you're still on the dollar and you're in Central America.
It is a huge problem. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's one of the guys who's like very he's very canny. He's very politically astute. He knows what people want, and he's not afraid to give it to them. He's not afraid to, you know, put in actionable items in his platform and have a way to do it. You know, or even if he doesn't, he can pull something out of his ass, which is and stick to that, which is something that not a lot of American politicians will do. You know, even the pulling something out of your ass, pulling a policy, you know, throwing a Hail Mary, like, you know, putting everyone with a tattoo in high security prison.
I'm not against that.
Oh, me neither. Me neither.
Get rid of everyone with a sleeve. You're going away. Yeah. You're going away. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, unless you could prove you're in the Yakuza.
Unless you're a woman I'm attracted to, you're going to jail for having tattoos.
Yeah. You have to have a minimum of 1 piercing for every tattoo, or else. So it's I don't know. It's a beast. He's a beast that is completely unknown in the United States, and I think maybe that's also why he's seen as like this anti-woke type of person, because that's the only like political agenda that is actionable here in the United States, right? We don't have any way to.
It's the only bandwidth in which things can be actually contested and like
absolutely
fought over, or like the terrain of exchange of power is over. What bathroom you can use.
I don't want to say like these things are equal in severity or in, but just to like bring this to like a problem that all Americans know. People living on the street, right? Rough sleepers, homeless, whatever you want to call them. At least in California, they're absolutely everywhere because they get shipped over here, right? But no municipal, city, or county, state, whatever government is willing to put in the money and effort to actually, do something for these people, right? Something concrete that's
build housing.
Exactly, build housing. The city of Sacramento, where I live now, has had 5 years now, I think. The current mayor, Darrell Steinberg, is a real piece of shit and a real lazy motherfucker. Has had 5 years to enact his homeless like action plan, whatever. The only thing he's done in 5 years is waste $110 million on a lot next to the Air Force Base where he has micro houses, like one step above. It's like a tent with a little bit extra cladding on top.
This is like van living. People love it.
Yes. Well, funny enough, it has space for vans and plug-in power for people who live in their RVs and stuff.
Oh, so you can work remotely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you can work remotely. There's a 5G antenna next to it, so you don't get any of the weird ones, and you can work remote. So you kill two birds with one stone. But even still, that's $110 million that could have gone towards something much more concrete and productive. That's $110 million that you could put towards and any other thing. Mental hospitals, right? Inpatient services, a place for these people who need a place to sleep. Not just that, but like who need round the clock psychiatric care to get them healthy again. That is not something that there's political will to do in this state, much less in this city. Even though everybody, absolutely if you go to r/Sacramento subreddit, I do this from time to time to see how bad like the weather's going to be or whatever, or like traffic. Every other post is about homeless people.
You go to the subreddit for Sacramento to check out what the weather is going to be today.
Or yeah, because they also have a terrible problem with the roads. So I commute for my job. So if you don't check in advance to see which roads are flooded or not, you might get stuck in like a forever traffic jam. It happens so often now that they just don't put it on the news. It's just like, well, it's going to rain, so you better pack 8 hours worth of snacks in your car. So that's the type of like political action that we're seeing in this country from our elected representatives and leaders and all of that. In El Salvador, they have a guy who puts people in concentration camps who are like in a gang, like people who like are seen to be like the guy who throws the torch, a lit Molotov cocktail into a bus full of people at rush hour because they didn't pay the right amount of rent for the month.
A Chapo Trap House does not endorse putting people in concentration camps or letting buses on fire.
No, but Salvadorans definitely do. Salvadorans definitely do.
Well, there are different countries have different standards, and that's okay.
For sure.
What I'm saying here. Yeah.
Honestly, like calling it a concentration camp is a little much. It's not like they're putting them in the oven yet. They don't even have an oven for it. But it's still an actionable item for the government to do. Right? They put it forward. They proposed it. They followed through. It has had results, even if they are cooked, numbers. If they're being manipulated, that's one thing. But at least people are not afraid to go out anymore. It happened while I was there, actually, when I was doing my visa thing. There was a lot of people who were very against it because, hey, not everybody who has tattoos is a gang member. But the concrete result of that has been, hey, you don't have to bring your gun with you if you go out of the city, right? You don't have to keep your gun in your glove compartment, locked and loaded in case you get carjacked in the highway. Not even in the city center. We're talking like the highway. Another big thing that he did that won over quite a lot of people was he cleaned out the city center, which had been full of, like, the sidewalks were full of stalls and like street vendors and stuff, which has its own charm. But people were tired because these were a giant source of income for the gangs. These are businesses which are not regular. They're not taxed regularly. So the gangs come in and they get their little taste. And, if they don't pay enough money, they torch the whole thing down. So getting rid of that and getting rid of that nuisance was a huge, huge booster for Bukele in El Salvador. Bigger even than the gangs, if I'm willing to say it, honestly.
Well, Max, I want to thank you for everything you shared about your home country. And now that your appearance on Gringo Trap House has alienated you from both the government and gangs currently at war with the government of El Salvador, the comments Trump made appearing at the U.S.-Mexico border today, of which he said, quote, of people crossing the border.
People from places unknown, from countries unknown, who don't speak languages. We have languages coming into our country. We have nobody that even speaks those languages. They're truly foreign languages. Nobody speaks them.
There are people who don't speak languages. We have languages coming into our country. Nobody speaks those languages. There's truly foreign languages. Nobody speaks them.
He's incorrect, by the way.
Is he speaking about sort of like indigenous languages from Central and South America? Because I think Spanish is pretty well fucking spoken in America.
Maybe
Spanish is number one.
Like, maybe he means like those weird twin languages.
Nell, Jodie Foster, Ma Chicka Bay, Ma Chicka Bam, or maybe like a Lovecraftian sort of Chisulu Flagon Lagrum.
No, they all speak like Puritang actually down there. It's very annoying.
Nobody understands what Puritang says. There are billions of them coming across the border.
That dumb moron doesn't know that it's part of their charm to speak like Puritang. No, even like the indigenous languages down there are Uto-Aztecan. So like they're actually, I don't know, maybe someone in the comments can correct me on this, but they are more or less intelligible with many native languages here in the States. So he's wrong on all accounts, for sure.
Yeah. The next one is even more baffling than the people are coming in with languages no one knows how to speak. This is Senator Tommy Tuberville. Says that we must. I love Tuberville. He says we must secure the border so that we could get God back in government. He says, quote, "You can't do that when you have 1 million people every couple of months coming to this country that know nothing about God." Which I gotta say, this is fucking baffling to me because, like, any random person from Central or South America is about 1,000 times more Christian than like the most Christian person in this country.
Yeah, dude. Any fucking like. Anyone from South America, almost universally, who I've met in my life, except for like the one Jewish Argentine that I know,
Adolfo Hitler Jr.
No, he's made some very good critiques on that joke, on that type of joke. We've had him on the show, or I interviewed.
Oh, right,
him.
right.
But
yeah, Steph, big love.
Yeah, but they are so into Virgin Mary and saints I've never even fucking heard of. If you tried quizzing an American Catholic about the saints that like your average, Guatemalan or Colombian or anyone, like anyone is into, they would have no idea. They are like the people that read the manga long before the anime came out.
They've read every single issue of One Piece and Shonen.
Yeah, they do not use dubs over there. I'll tell you that. But
it's very funny, yeah.
But what do they think? I mean, do they think that they're all like pagans or something like that? Or is
I would assume so.
Or is it because he thinks the Catholic Church is paganism? I think that's perhaps what's being driven at here.
Maybe he thinks they're into the religion of Wokedad.
Wokeismo.
As they call it. Yeah.
Wokeismo.
I'm honestly completely baffled because even if you look at sola scripturum type, even that, like ever since the civil wars and like the unrest in the 80s where they killed a bunch of the priests for saying, hey, it's okay to rise up against the government if they're trying to kill you for, trying to get a better life or like improve your working conditions or improving your living conditions. Even after they killed all these people, all these priests, that just meant that they converted over to evangelicalism, like Baptist churches are big down there, like Pentecostalism is huge.
Pentecostalism there.
Mormons made a huge alabaster temple in downtown San Salvador. They leveled an entire like swath of jungle that was like a biosphere reserve in the city, like one of the only ones of their kind, like a giant urban park. They built one of their temples on it, and now it's just like a place for Caleb and Kaylee to like go pretend they're doing some good works, just party hard in the on the beach and then go back to Utah and say, hey, I met so many poor kids.
like Lisa Barlow's dumbass kid who just went on, is currently on a mission in Bogota, Colombia.
Yeah. Oh God, no, awful. But that is the extent of like American, I guess, Christianity at this point, right? There's no like connection, even in the Catholic Church. It's gotten to the point where there are Catholic bishops.
American
Bishop
Catholics
Strickland
need to get
from
excommunicated, and I know I'm not Catholic, so
100%.
I don't really have a right to say that. But I'm saying if I was
Yeah.
the Catholic Church, I would consider cleaving myself of the entire American Catholic Church.
1,000,000%. I mean, we are one pussy hair away from having an American Catholic Church with its own American pope. I really would not be surprised if that happened in the next 10 years, like an anti-woke Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Who all like convert en masse to Orthodox Christianity, like Rod Dreher. Yeah, it's baffling that they even call them pagan or anything like that. Maybe they must be thinking. Now, this is all like anecdata. I don't have anything to back this up, but there are quite a lot of African immigrants who first try to get to Colombia and then hike it all the way up to the border with Mexico. So that might be it. Like there's quite a lot of black people that are going up there. That people who speak Garifuna, like a Creole, something like that. Haitians for sure.
One of these languages that nobody knows about.
One of these languages that nobody knows about.
One of these secret languages.
Yeah, except that they're spoken by millions in their own home countries, and millions of that diaspora that exists literally in Houston, Atlanta, DC, fucking Baltimore, like Greektown, where Stavi lives. That's all Salvadorans now. That's Salvadoran town.
I remember in one of Stav's stand-up specials, he talks about like the old residents of Greektown in Baltimore who are like guys who are employed sitting on milk crates all day long, and they're like talking about the new Salvadoran population in Greektown, going, they do not even speak English. And it's like, you don't speak English. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you think any of these Greek people have like a license for their like bootleg carpentry business? No, they do not. Salvadorans do.
Well, I know at least one Greek carpenter who does it.
Famously, like it's a big meme in the community that like illegal immigrants, like from a legal immigrant perspective, like they're seen as like, oh, they're still criminals, but at least they pay their taxes. Like that's the one thing they do.
Right.
They get an ITIN, like an individual tax number, right? It's not a social security or anything, but they still pay money to the IRS. They send their checks every year. They're not going to get them off of that, for sure. Now, they might play their cumbia a little bit too loud, okay? And I agree with that. I am a little sensitive to it, but that's not grounds for, sending them back to their home country.
No, it just sends to prison in this country if you play your music too
exactly.
loud. I think that's it's a fair
listen, in a truly just society, we would have like a ministry of culture that would support these things and set up venues for
a system of social, what's it called? Credit? Social sort of benefit?
Perhaps some benefits or something like that. Or hey, at
and
least,
also
like,
some
look
stern
after artists in
punishments
this country.
Yeah,
exactly. But hey, a man can dream.
All right. Well, this goes into my final segue for the last story I want to talk about, which is not immigration related, but it does involve taking care of artists. And I'm referring to, of course, the ongoing revelations that Sean Puff Daddy Combs is like a Jimmy Savile level sex predator who's been raping men and women for decades, more or less.
No. The guy whose only friend is Kanye West is raping people and like a huge amount. No. Say it ain't so. Well,
I guess
come on.
Can't come as too big a shot, but like the ongoing lawsuits that Mr. Diddy is dealing with right now is certainly disturbing, but it has given rise to I think a current, like, my favorite entry in what I'm calling great moments in crisis PR. And I would just like to read to you now. This is because there's been some speculation that Philadelphia recording artist Meek Mill is sort of an unnamed gentleman who has perhaps been on the receiving end of Mr. Diddy's advances, shall we say. So this is Meek Mill and who are his PR people. And I guess he's a real one, so he probably doesn't have PR people. So he came out with this today or yesterday, just letting everyone know When I got a girl around me, I'm fucking her twice a day. LOL.
Yes.
Ask some of your favorites. Pussy don't control me, but it's like a high. One love to the gay people, but that juicy pussy do it for me. I done ran red lights to get that feeling. Y'all weird on here like devils. LOL. To which I say,
Yo, amen.
Mr. Mill, flawless execution. You've put this rumor to bed. Just with.
Is it too late to put him on the ticket instead of Kamala?
Everything that juicy pussy do it for you and all of us.
What do you think? You dropped out of a juicy pussy tree?
Literally, I think we all did.
Yeah, dude. Fuck. Yeah, no. Honestly, I'm so happy that something new is coming out because it's been months and months and months of like Kanye West is anti-Semitic. Oh, R. Kelly went to prison.
Yeah, how about a guy who's more evil than both of those guys put together?
Now I'm just waiting for Jay-Z to be like a serial pussy eater, like just
getting his Michael Douglas on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that would be the icing on the cupcake.
That's like the most perverse thing about Jay-Z is like, you have Diddy, who is, one of the most evil people alive. He's like a character from a pamphlet they released in the 1920s warning women about like evil gay men who poison you and, have sex with Meek Mill. But, he clearly accumulated all this power so he could do weird things to everyone. But Jay-Z, he really only cares about, real estate investment trusts and rapping about
swallowing clit.
Yeah, rapping about mutual funds. Jay-Z is the type of guy who would pick dinner with Jay-Z over $1 million.
Does anyone remember it was like a sort of a mild digression in the big part, in the big wave of like Kanye West as a Nazi thing. When it came out, there was that clip of Kanye West talking about how Jay-Z got mad at him, or someone got mad at him for spilling Jewish business secrets. that Jay-Z told him Jewish business secrets that had been told to him by his Jewish business managers, and that like Kanye West had spilled the beans, and now like the secrets are out, and the secrets amounted to own property, invest in real estate.
Yeah, no. Jay-Z and P. Diddy are like the two types of rappers who like they talk. You know how they talk about having a Jewish lawyer and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're like they fully believe that they have a happy merchant lawyer. Happy Merchant JD, attorney at law, is representing P. Diddy, and and they're like, please tell us how to how to trick the goyim into giving us more money.
I'd like more goy slop from Jay-Z in the form of a subpar album. Time for more goy slop. It's Kingdom Come Part 2.
With 3 too many like Beyonce features because he couldn't get anybody else. Yeah.
Did you see the thing about Felix? I gotta ask. Did you see the thing about Goy Block?
Yeah, no.
In addition to Goy Slop,
yeah, that one.
Time for your Goy Block. I was like, damn, I do like those Delta Airlines cookies. Give me more.
That one's so funny because the guy doing it was comparing like an advertisement for flying in the 1950s. Like an ad.
Yeah.
But like an ad shoot of like first class back then, which probably cost the equivalent of chartering a jet now. And the implication,
you got a full turkey dinner though. You got a full Thanksgiving dinner.
I would love that. I would love a fucking turkey dinner cooked on an unpressurized cabin in 1952.
Yeah,
that I'm paying
in a hermetically sealed cabin that's mostly tobacco smoke.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. It's they actually have a grill in the galley at that point.
Dude, that is
a smoker.
Going on one of those unpressurized planes, you are just like you are adding and taking away more chromosomes per second than anything. You are just playing Russian roulette with any pregnancy you have. But I liked it because he compared the two. It's like, look, before Jews ruined this country, you could have a Christmas goose on an unpressurized prop plane. And now the Jews have ruined the country. You have to eat a
That's how they killed Senator Wellstone.
Yeah, a goy block is... That one's going to be stuck with me forever.
Yep. when the DMT hits my brain as I'm going out, the last thought's going to be, "Go, get me my goy block."
Good. Justin, Jason, clean up your goy blocks before dinner.
Ever since I became aware of the Jewish community in El Salvador, I realized that the real Jews down there are the Christians, the Palestinian Christians, the real OGs, like you said, Will. I mean, Jesus Christ, they own. I'm sorry, not to get very tropish on here, but they really do own everything. No, but for real, like the immigration that happened, like in the early 20s, because of the first like pogroms against Palestinians in Israel, they were the first ones to leave. They went straight for El Salvador. They knew what was good for them.
And now there's like a Palestinian world leader.
Yeah. All this to say, I think it would be very interesting to propose maybe El Salvador and Honduras can give up some of their land to create a new Palestinian homeland. If the Jews don't want to give theirs up.
I'm still stuck on the goy block thing. I just love the idea that there's like a cabal, there's like a secret meeting in like a Strangelove type room with a bunch of rabbis, and they're like, what's a demeaning food we can make goys eat?
Cookies.
Like big blocky Delta Airlines cookie.
And then they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna give them the cookies, and then we're gonna invest in real estate, and then it's all sewn up.
Wait,
the real goy block is oatmeal raisin cookies.
I'll agree with that.
What a sad state of affairs.
Any Midwesterners will recognize the true goy block cookie, Carol's Cookies. These are
I don't know that one.
I think they're specific to the Midwest. They're great. They're like the type of thing, they're the reason why people in Wisconsin have the life expectancy of Russians in the 90s.
Careful.
Oh,
I would assume it was mostly Carvel to blame for that.
But they're like,
Catherine, do not listen to this episode.
But they're like these, they're like 1 pound each, and they're a mound of like sort of. I'm making it sound worse than it is. They're actually really good, but it's like not very sort of like medium rare cooked cookies.
Oh, chewy.
Like they're very doughy. Those are great, and they're like I would put them in the goy slop genre, but like great goy slop.
I mean, you can't get any more goyish than hot Cheetos.
Yeah, do you think
a single?
Wait a second, Max. I saw a whole movie about how that was a great moment in Latino American history.
Wait,
yes, and Latinos are famously, great circumcisers and very Jewish coded.
Do you think
the closest we get is that we love our mothers? That's all.
Do you think that?
Felix, go ahead.
Do you think that a like a Hasid has ever eaten hot Cheetos or Takis?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as an assisted suicide.
The forbidden fruits of New York. They're like every one of those guys building the tunnel had like a hot Cheeto packed in their cheek, like a cyanide capsule, and they were like, "If the cops come, just bite down on this."
That's probably.
I just feel really sad for all the
tunnel was to like secretly eat Takis away from their wives.
I feel really sad for the Orthodox kids in upstate New York who they bought the blue hot Cheetos because they thought they were pro-Israeli, and they had one single crumb, and it fucking sent them right to Baruch Hashem.
All right. We gotta wrap it. I gotta wrap it up there. This has been a very fun, very generous episode. Thanks to our sweet Palma.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Palma.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Palma. It's always a joy to talk to you. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything coming out?
Yes, I got 2 things. Number 1, please listen to Seeking Derangements on any podcast app of your choice. I think I really have to thank you guys for believing in us from the very beginning and really pushing that show forward. It really would not have happened without you guys. I'm super grateful. And
I'm a genuine fan.
Me too.
If you want more Seeking Derangements and more Chapo Trap House, we have quite a lot of backlog of episodes. Just $5 a month. And you got, I think we're at episode 300 now.
By the way, Felix, I'm still thinking about what Jock said about how Eleanor Roosevelt invented birthdays.
That
On our last appearance.
That's another thing that's never going to leave my mind. That is a true deathbed thought.
The one that sticks with me from that episode is Jacques saying a classic Jenna Jameson style wife. Yep. That one's been rattling around for me for a while.
Man.
Yeah, no, truly. God bless you guys for enabling his dab addiction and his vomiting treatment. And one last plug is I've been working for quite a long time now, doing some research on if you guys enjoy, for example, like Age of Napoleon or Le Siècle, like these not very hardcore but very personable history podcasts. I do really want to do something similar like that for Central American history, Latin American history, which is, like you said, well, like these are countries that people barely know anything about. People think they speak a language that does not exist or nobody speaks, which is really not true. I mean, they have quite a long history and quite a lot of culture to share. So I expect more plugs from that in a month or two when I've finished writing the script.
All right. Well, when that drops, we'll have you back on to talk about
please,
more about Central America.
Oh yes, I'd be so happy.
So anyway, yeah. That does it for today's episode. We'll see you in another 4 years on leap year.
All right.
I'm taking off. I'm taking off till the next February 29th. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Palma, will you send me a disco funk banger to use as the outro?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I was thinking of using a cumbia track. I have a couple of really good ones.
Cumbia track?
Cumbia.